Saturday noon, Arkansas visits Oklahoma State at Boone Pickens Stadium in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Oklahoma State is now a 7.5-point favorite in this one. Started as a 9.5, moved to 8.5, moved back to 9.5, down to 7.5. This thing's been all over the place. This is a new look Arkansas team. Bobby Petrino comes in. Probably not a lot of people have paid attention to Arkansas over the offseason with all the headline stuff that's went on with the college football playoff and all that stuff. If you want more of a deep dive on Arkansas, we did a video on them earlier in the offseason and kind of went through and talked the roster with them, and we'll kind of talk the high spots here today. But new quarterback Talon Green comes in from Boise State, absolute witch on his feet. The guy is a long, lanky fella, long strides, 20-something career, I think 28 career touchdowns on the ground, and looks to pair well with Jaquindon Jackson, the running back that comes over from Utah, that will come into Bobby Petrino's system that's got pretty good wide receivers and a new and improved offensive line. Tackles were a big issue last year, even with Rocket Sanders, who has since departed the team. Weren't able to run the football. 10th best in the SEC last year at running the football, even with Rocket Sanders, and it was due to those tackles. You bring in a couple transfers to shore that up, and so far, so good for Arkansas, and got some pieces there on defense that we're going to kind of go over, but, a defense that I think is going to be improved. We'll kind of stick a pin in that, and then Oklahoma State, listen to me. Oklahoma State, brings back a lot on offense. They bring back a ton on offense. You've got your quarterback coming back, Alan Bowman, Ollie Gordon. Everybody in the country at this point knows the year that Ollie Gordon had last year took the college football by storm, and I think he's just as good, even better this year probably, and he's going to be running behind one of the most experienced offensive lines to have ever graced the field for a team due to several guys exercising COVID years and things like that. Over 200 starts combined between these linemen. Absolutely unbelievable. 284 games played with these offensive linemen. So very, very experienced group there. And then you bring back some really good wide receivers, Mason. And we saw it in week one. Brendan Presley, Rashad Owens is the speed guy. And, boy, he is speedy. So going to be a lot to do as far as defensively for Arkansas, tracking these guys down. And then defensively for Oklahoma State, it was a really bad defense last year, Mason. And I didn't feel like Oklahoma State did a whole lot in the way of the transfer portal to make this thing better in the offseason. A couple little pickups here and there, but a lot of the same guys. And we got some good players. We've got some questionable players. Nick Martin is a guy that, very well could be all Big 12 this year. Corey Black returns as a super senior in that secondary. He'll look to kind of anchor that unit. So a lot of the same guys back on what was a really bad defense last year, ranked 122nd in the country last season in defensive production. Now that we've got all that dressed up, let's kind of go through how you're feeling on this one, Mason. What do you think about Arkansas and Talon Green and the prospect of this new look offense? Bobby Petrino is in full control of this offense. Sam Pittman is stepping back to more of a CEO role, hopefully helping out on that offensive line, probably sitting in on a lot of those meetings after the year that was had last year. I like the prospect of this guy. What do you think about Talon Green?
I love Talon Green. I think he's a guy that at quarterback allows you to do a lot of things, right? There's pretty much everything's on the table with Talon Green playing quarterback. He can throw the ball deep. He can throw it over the middle. He can run the ball at will, seemingly. He's listed at 6'6". He might be 6'7". This is a pretty tall dude. If not, he's a true 6'6". But tall dude, lanky, runs fast, doesn't look like it, but we tend to see that with taller guys. And I just really like what he does. I mean, this season I'm expecting his accuracy to get a little bit better with Bobby Petrino, with the Arkansas personnel and offense and coaches. I think that they're going to polish him up a little bit. I'm curious if he's going to be kind of there yet, right? I don't know if week 2 is necessarily the ideal week for Arkansas to be facing Oklahoma State. But I think that he's going to give this team a really good chance to win this game this week. And I'm I'm really high on the prospect of Taylor Green. I think that this is a guy who has all the tools to be like a Heisman contender. I really thought if you go back and look, I'm not going to fault you guys if you're not an Arkansas fan and you didn't watch Arkansas versus Arkansas Pine Bluff. Not going to fault you there. That's my job to watch those games. So you don't have to. But I'm telling you, this guy's special. He looked really good, and it looked like to me Bobby Petrino has simplified this offense for Taylor Green, for all the players really, and it seems like they're picking up on things pretty quickly, and they got it rolling early in week 1. I think a lot of that's going to continue against an Oklahoma State defense that is very experienced, but hasn't really played all that well, right? So I don't know what to make out of that other than the fact that to me this game kind of boils down to if whether or not talent is going to supersede experience or experience is going to supersede talent. That's to me that's the when you get down to the grassroots of this ball game, that's kind of where we're at. But really like Taylor Green and what he's doing with this offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I do too. And I feel like him and Jaquindon Jackson really complement each other well. And Jaquindon Jackson is a guy that was really overlooked at Utah last year because Utah had all the struggles that they went through with quarterback, Cam Rising being out, yada, yada, yada. But this was a guy that in a lot of games that they won, they went 8-4, 8-5, I think, with the bowl loss, if I'm not mistaken. Utah, that is. He put the team on his back at certain times, and I really like the prospect of Jaquindon Jackson. So really, really excited to see him in an Arkansas uniform. But really what I'm excited to see is this wide receiver room. I've heard all offseason, like I said, I know it's not super popular to be tuning into what Arkansas is up to, throughout the entire offseason, but that's what we do. And I've heard just all kinds of stuff about these wide receivers. You got some returners in Andrew Armstrong, Isaiah Satania, Tyrone Broden comes in through the transfer portal, a guy that it should be able to help this offense. And we saw him with a couple of drops early in that game. I'm hoping that he's able to get that shirt up for Arkansas State here. But this isn't some kind of Oklahoma State defense that's just laden with talent, right? It's really not. Like I said, you got the one guy you probably need to try to avoid a little bit, and Corey Black, super senior, who returns at the cornerback position, with several familiar faces, a lot of the same guys as last year. But you add in Kobe Hilton through the portal, a guy from UTEP with 51 tackles, 13 pass deflections, and a freshman All-American last year. So maybe a tick better in the secondary for Oklahoma State this season. We'll just kind of have to wait and see how the injury bug goes with them. But we kind of talked about the linebacker core there for Oklahoma State, so we'll talk about the defense for Arkansas here for just a second. I think this defense is going to take a really big step up, Mason. Now, linebacker is a huge question for Arkansas. Linebacker is a really big question. You've got to have Xavier Sori step up. Brad Spence, I feel like, is kind of that go-to guy. Steven Dix is certainly going to be playing and rotating. Can you get something out of Xavier Sori? That is, I think, a big question. I didn't see really a whole lot of stats out of him out of that game. I'm not sure if he played, but I know that Brad Spence and Steven Dix are those those guys that are kind of starting and playing the depth roles behind him. Really going to need some of those guys to step up because this is not a deep nor a really, really good inside linebacker room. Probably the leader on this defense and the anchor of this defense for sure is this defensive line. Cameron Ball, a guy that, a lot of people are pretty excited about. I'm interested to see what he can do this season. 32 tackles last year in what was not a great defense or anything. So we'll see what he can do with Landon Jackson over there on the defensive end. Landon Jackson, I figure, to be the leader of this team 44 tackles, 13 and a half tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks. This guy didn't have a lot of stats in that Arkansas Pine Bluff game, but every time you looked up, he was in the quarterback's face. And he's 6'7". He's absolutely massive. I suspect that he plays a role in this game. Certainly going to have to help seal the edge with Ollie Gordon getting the handoffs there, but I got to see him get after that quarterback a little bit, and take at the same time you've got responsibilities to try to help some of these offensive linemen of Oklahoma State who are very experienced, know how to get to the second level. You're going to have to keep these linebackers freed up to where they can make plays. I don't think these are guys that are taking on blockers and stepping up, making tackles a whole lot. So it'll be an interesting dynamic there on the defense where I feel like the defensive line is kind of the strength and the linebackers kind of the weakness, and then I think the jury's still kind of out on the secondary. You bring in Danico Slaughter. I like that piece. Jaheim Singletary, a guy that was highly sought after. So we'll see how they do. They're going to be tested by this group of wide receivers of Oklahoma State for sure. What do you think about the defense here?
Yeah, I mean, the defense is the side of the football that we saw the least of in this past week. I mean, if you go and watch the highlights, you're not going to see a ton of defensive highlights coming from Arkansas. Not yet, at least. From what I hear, it sounds like Xavier Sori really was flying around the football, had a great game, and looks like one of the better athletes on the field when he's on the field. That's a really important piece there. A huge transfer coming over from Georgia, and if they hit on him, I think that spells trouble for a lot of teams, including Oklahoma State, who is going to try to run the football. I don't think that there's any secret behind that, and Ollie Gordon. But this game is where the defense is going to be tested the most. Arkansas, for years and years, have prided themselves on being an SEC team and very physical up front. Well, you're going to have to prove it this game, because this game will be won on the lines of scrimmage. I think it's really that simple. Who can run the ball better? Who can play the run better? That's going to me, be the deciding factor in this ball game. I'm with you, though. Jaheim Singletary is another guy who I look at and say, when's he going to step up and make some plays? Anxious to see if it's this week or this season at all. But I do like the defense. I think that they're unproven, and this whole Arkansas team to me is pretty unproven, and we're seeing some new faces, and we're seeing hopefully a different look on the defense side of the football to complement the new look offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll kind of go through these slides for Oklahoma State, and you guys can look at them as you want to, but one of my keys to victory for this game is which one of these teams can get a turnover. Arkansas was one of the worst teams in the country last year at fumbling the football. 20-something fumbles. It lost fumbles. Really, really bad. Had 2 fumbles in their game against Arkansas Pine Bluff. If one of these teams can get a couple of turnovers, I think it could be the difference in this game. I give the edge a little bit, like defensively. I think I like Arkansas's defense a little bit better than I like Oklahoma State's. But I think I like Oklahoma State's offense just a little bit better. But as far as that turnover thing goes, Alan Bowman was a little bit of a turnover machine last year. 14 interceptions last year to his, I think, 15 touchdowns, something like that. I'm trying to pull it up right here. Yeah. 13 touchdowns to 12 interceptions last season there in 2023. So, long career for this guy. He's not a young buck, Mason, this Alan Bowman. And I feel like if he was going to be getting that out of his system, it probably would have already been out of there. So I think Arkansas secondary has got a real chance to be able to get some turnovers in this football game and rewrite the narrative for this Arkansas defense that was pretty porous last year, but was left out to dry by an offense. Let's just be honest. I mean, when you have an offense that can't sustain any drives, it's gonna really put a hamper on your defense. And Arkansas defense played a ton of snaps last year. And we talked about some of the offensive playmakers that Oklahoma State brings back. Who can hit the big plays in this game? I suspect both teams are probably going to hit some big plays, but who can do it more often, and who can incorporate the run game with that? Um, you know, you got to give the run game tilt to Oklahoma State, right? You got the best running back in the country, and you've got one of the most experienced offensive lines in the country. So a key to victory for Oklahoma State is run the damn football, run the football to set up the pass, and I think Oklahoma State is going to need to be patient in this one. Because, like I said, whoever gets the turnovers in this one, I think is going to end up probably winning the football game. Oklahoma State is over a touchdown favorite in this one, and this is one of my favorite games to bet on this weekend. Um, it, you got any more thoughts on this one, Mason, before we get into any predictions?
I mean, look, we know what we have in Oklahoma State, right? That's been kind of my biggest point in this whole breakdown is I feel like we have proven commodities at Oklahoma State and unproven commodities at Arkansas. I'm not saying that that means that Oklahoma State's going to run away with it. Some of the proven commodities are not very good commodities, right? But those three playmakers you just had on the screen, I think, are the real deal. Specifically, Ollie Gordon and Rashad Owens. Really like what I've seen out of both of them. Rashad Owens just seems like a go-to target for Alan Bowman. And if the running game does run into some issues, I could see them targeting him quite a bit. That's where Arkansas, to your point, is going to have to create some turnovers and try not to allow the wide receivers to beat you. If Ollie Gordon beats you, you shake his hand and you move on. But I think if you're Arkansas here, you can't let the wide receivers beat you in this game. That's kind of what can't happen. How they play that is going to be really difficult because if you want to win, you got to stop Ollie Gordon, but if you don't want to lose, you got to stop the wide receivers. So what do you do on offense, right?
Right.
Excuse me, what do you do on defense to stop the offense? I think that's going to be the biggest question to me. I think this game it's going to be pretty high scoring, but let's roll into our predictions if you don't have anything else before I bury the lead here.
Well, here's my last key to victory here, and probably the biggest one. If Oklahoma State is to win this game and cover, they've got to make Taylor Green one dimensional. They've got to put the ball in his hands and make him throw it to win. He's not a high percentage quarterback, at least so far in his career. He's not a 70% completion guy. He's in the 50s, okay? His threat, a lot of it comes with his legs. Make him hand that ball off. You've got to make him hand that football off. And if Oklahoma State can figure out a way to make him one dimensional, I think that's going to make things a whole lot easier for this defense to kind of guess and plan for what's going down. And that kind of leads me to it's first and second down, really, is what it is. Get him in third and long. That's the biggest thing, and that can be said the same for Oklahoma State, for Arkansas getting Oklahoma State on first and second down, getting them in that third and long, making them one dimensional, predictable, and that's really going to be the key to victory here for one of these teams. I'm taking Arkansas plus the points here, Mason. A hook on the touchdown, it's too much. It's too much. This game hasn't been played in a long time. I don't know if this used to be a rivalry game. All you Arkansas and Oklahoma State fans that have been around forever, y'all let us know. I'm pretty sure the last one time this one's been played is 1980. If that wasn't correct, somebody would have corrected me on YouTube by now. This one hasn't been played a lot. These teams are geographically really close. I think there's going to be some Arkansas fans there at the game. Not too far down the road, I guess. Give me Arkansas plus the points here. And as far as the over/under goes, all the way up to 63, Mason, give me the under. Give me the under.
Yeah.
I think this is a close game. I think these defenses end up a little bit better than what they were last year. I think everybody's perception is kind of based upon that. And I think both of these teams are improved not only on defense but on offense as well. I think both of these teams are better than they were last year. And I think Arkansas is going to be able to definitely hang around. I think Arkansas may even be able to carry a lead through a part of this game, but I think Oklahoma State kind of pulls away at the end and kicks maybe a field goal late or something like that to break a tie. I think this is going to be a really, really good football game, but give me Arkansas plus the points. What you got?
I'm with you for most of that. To me, I think that I've got Arkansas winning this game, right? And if that's going to happen, I think that they're going to need to score a ton of points. And if that's the case, I think the over hits. To me, I think it's going to end up being like a 35-32 type of game, something in the mid to upper 30s at least, and I could see Arkansas winning a game like that. To me, that puts the pressure on Oklahoma State to pass the football if they get behind at all, and then that puts Alan Bowman into pressure not to throw an interception. If that is if Vegas is telling me this is a 63-point game overall, I like Arkansas's chances in a shootout. And so to me, I think that Arkansas on the money line is a really fun play. It's tough to pick an underdog on the money line, but if you're gonna win money, you need to pick the underdog, right? So if you're a money line type of player, I think that you got pretty good value here with Arkansas. I think this is one that they could go out and get, even with this being played at Oklahoma State. But yeah, I definitely like Arkansas to cover the 7.5. I think this is going to be a close game, regardless of who wins. And I'm not nearly as confident on the over. I'm not telling you to go bet the over or slam the over or anything like that. But I do think that Arkansas is going to be able to keep this close, if not win it outright.
Yeah, and as we talked about earlier in the video, guys, if you are a person that likes to bet on the games, if you're betting Arkansas, bet it now because the line is moving down. It started like as we said, it started 9.5. It's crept to 8.5 to 7.5. It's kind of went back and forth a couple of times, but I think this one could creep under a touchdown as the money keeps coming in. So and as the week goes on, so if you're betting Arkansas, I would do that now. If you're betting Oklahoma State, I would wait for those points to come down to where if you win by a touchdown, you can win this bet. That would be the smart play here. Tune in to the betting show on Thursday for all of our best bets of the week.